Bang! We're live. Raptors postgame. I'm J.D. Bunkis. He's Donnovan Bennett.
I am.
Once again, dressed better than I am.
Well, that's every day.
Yeah, most days. It's really kind of hard to fight that. I bet you some days you don't get out of your PJs, though.
Wearing clean clothes is dressed better than you.
Raptors win. Raptors win. Raptors win. 114-110 over the Denver Nuggets. Pretty awful second quarter defensively, but they tightened it up late. Feel a lot better after that one. Been a tough 5-game stretch for this team. Nice to see them get a W at home, especially on a night where the Golden State Warriors, who again, they're battling with in terms of a record, for second best in the NBA.
What do you mean?
Are starting.
It's bad second quarter defensively. What about the positive first quarter defensively?
Well, yeah, the first quarter defensively was great.
They shot 29% from the floor.
They did get to the free throw line 8 times, or for 8 shots,
which is a very good offensive team. The glass is half full.
No, the glass is definitely half full tonight. There's a lot of positive stuff to talk about. And again, we want to interact with you. If you want to send us a tweet, put those babies up. At J.D. Bunkis, at Donnovan Bennett. Use the hashtag SNRaps. Or give a shout. 1-888-666-0590, *590, or 416-870-0590. Get a hold of Donovan and I. Have a chat. Read some of your tweets. It's going to be a fun night. Let's start with the most positive aspect, which was, again, I thought the tightening of the screws on defense late in that ball game, where the Raptors, again, held the Nuggets to 25 points in the fourth quarter. And that's including a bunch of heaves from deep late by Denver. But ultimately, I really love that Dwayne Casey stuck with the guys that were effective in this ball game. Didn't go back to Jonas Valanciunas. Didn't go back to Serge Ibaka. Decided to ride it out with Pascal Siakam and Jakob Poeltl, and the two of those guys played great.
Didn't go back to anybody other than Kyle Lowry, who came in for C.J. Miles. The bench, as you mentioned, not only got them the lead, they extended the lead. A big kind of 2 plays for me. One, DeLon Wright. After a missed shot, long rebound, Poeltl gets another possession, swung around. DeLon Wright doesn't think about it, steps into a 3, buckets. Get a stop, come back. It gets swung again on the weak side to Fred VanVleet. Doesn't think about it. Bucket from 3 and foul. 2 guys who coming into this year, we said, well, yeah, sure, they could eat up minutes for Kyle Lowry, but can they hit the 3 consistently? In a big spot, the Raptors go from what was a very tight game, looked like it was going to be the team who had the ball last was going to win, extend the lead to 7, and they're able to play great defense throughout. The other big thing was the way that you mentioned it, the 2 bigs played. Siakam with 5 fouls, Poeltl with 4. Both were able to defend without fouling and give some rim protection. I'm really interested to hear what our fans, our listeners, our viewers as well, thought was the turning point. But the way those 2 young guards played offensively and the way the 2 bigs played defensively, to me, was key.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That run at the beginning of the fourth quarter completely changed the tone of the game. It had been pretty back and forth. The Raptors had gone on a few runs but hadn't created any separation. And then they go on that 15-4 run with all the bench before Kyle Lowry even steps foot back in that ball game. And on a couple of those plays that you mentioned, and all of a sudden the Raptors are up 5, all of a sudden the Raptors are up 7 points, and they never look back from that point on. So again, credit those young guys, credit the bench. Bench mob did their thing again tonight, started stepping on people's throats after a pretty, I would say, disappointing first half from those guys. Again, the second quarter was where they tried to play up and down and didn't get any stops, and Jakob Poeltl got into foul trouble and forced Lucas Nogueira into the ball game. But yeah, the second half of that game in the fourth quarter, they were just lights out, and they did everything you want from your bench. And again, tonight, Fred VanVleet, 3 of 4 from deep. DeLon Wright, 2 of 2. So you get 5 of your 13 3-pointers from a couple of guys that I don't really think were on the map at the very beginning of the season when it came to shooting. Fred VanVleet was, but I don't think he was going to be expected to be one of your top knockdown shooters. But again, 13 makes from deep tonight for the Raptors. 2 of those coming from C.J. Miles and Serge Ibaka, who combined for 2 of 11 from deep. And those were 2 guys that heading into this season, you were saying, yeah, they're probably, 2 and 3 in terms of importance, stretching the floor and knocking down shots.
About that.
Yeah. Right behind Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry 1, and then CJ 2, Serge Ibaka 3. And those 2 guys didn't provide you any floor spacing tonight. They missed most of their shots. And other guys can pick them up because a whole bunch of other guys can stretch the floor now. You got DeRozan finally connecting on one. OG Anunoby connected on one. Norman Powell connected on one. You screamed because you thought Lucas Nogueira was going to nail one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. You hoped late in the clock, but it didn't happen. Lucas Nogueira, he got in. He played.
Played well.
Your guy.
Couple big blocks. 16 blocks for the team.
Yeah, 7 minutes and -4 for Lucas. 3 blocks, though. 1 rebound. He was okay. The big guy I do want to highlight, though, heading into the show is Serge Ibaka. Because Serge actually had what I thought was a pretty damn good game. He was everywhere defensively. He took good shots. He made some really good passes. He found OG Anunoby for a really good look. He found him on a basket cut, which, say all you want about OG Anunoby, one thing he does really well is he's just a smart offensive player. When he's not dribbling it, but off the ball offensively, he's great at cutting to the basket. And he's great identifying where to make the pass. And he and Serge Ibaka linked up for one. And then Serge played some really good defense for some stretches. He made Paul Millsap work, and Millsap and Jokic cooked the Raptors starting front court tonight. I think they combined for close to 50 points. Last I checked, it was 20, 26 respectively, but I think Jokic knocked down a couple of threes. I did like Serge, though. I thought that he had a really good game.
You said, say what you want about OG Anunoby.
Yeah, because he's had a really rough go as of late.
But, like, who wants to say something? Why do we use that term, say what you want? What does that even mean?
It means say what you want. Whatever you want to say about OG Anunoby is generally fair when you're critiquing him. But
do people normally say what they don't want?
Yeah.
Like, who came up with that phrase? It doesn't make any sense.
You say it, and you have authority over them, and they'll say it.
People say what you want, and then you continue to talk for another 2 minutes.
Let's go.
So when can I say what I want?
Let's go to one of the calls.
Let's
go to Matt in Toronto. What's up, Matt?
What's going on, Matt?
How's it going, guys?
Not too
It's
bad,
good.
buddy.
But can we just actually start with something? This is gonna be a teachable moment, Matt. Listen,
Sure.
we are hosting a post game show for the Toronto Raptors, who are on pace to win 60 games. And they're gonna be a number one seed for the first time ever. We are doing good. So for all the callers, don't ask us how we're doing. We're doing great.
Everybody's good here.
Just get to the call.
Everybody's good. I've been here a long
Talk to
time
us,
today,
Matt.
but I'm good. Yeah.
Oh,
what's up,
see,
Matt?
of course this guy had to complain because the glasses always have.
I'm not complaining.
Talk to us, Matt.
Yeah, no, it's actually funny you said that because, I mean, yes, people have been saying that, the Raptors have had a rough stretch, so because of that, they can't beat Cleveland in a 7-game series and all the white noise that people want to say. But that being said, I mean, that's just it. The Raptors have only had a 5-game stretch that they haven't played their ideal basketball, but they've always been in the game. Like they're always in it. Like the game could have gone either way. The games were decided, but with by less than 10 points each game. So really and truly, I mean, as I look at the sample size of what I've seen from the Raptors this year, with all the ball movement, with Lowry stepping his game up as a 32-year-old, as DeRozan stepping up, taking strides to become a fringe superstar. The Raptors have a very, very strong chance to beat Cleveland and LeBron James to come out of the East and make their first NBA Finals ever. And a lot of people are still sleeping on them. So, I mean...
I don't know, Matty. I don't know. I don't know. I like the call. Thanks, Matt, for the call. I don't think anybody's really sleeping on Toronto anymore. Honestly, they got their ESPN game. Everybody talked about them.
Well, they had a bad stretch.
They did,
which
but
we talked about extensively, and it was, here we go again. Where's the defense? Where's DeMar? I mean, if this game was close for a while, they were down for long stretches. If they lose, the tenor of this conversation is entirely different. So maybe sleeping on them isn't the right word, but it's not like people were coming to this game enthused. And this is the new NBA where 24 hours changes perception. The Cavaliers right now are losing 76-59 to the Miami Heat, and Dwayne Wade swatted LeBron James badly. And so for the next 24 to 48 hours until they play again, I think that changes the lens with which you see this team.
Yeah, I guess if you're a weather
It
vane.
shouldn't.
Yeah, that's the thing
But it will.
It's really tough to take opinions too seriously if they vacillate game to game. And I know people think that we do that,
Dougie, I have to talk to you off a ledge like 3 times a week.
but that's not true. That's not true at all.
Okay.
All I just say, if I see something that I'm going to be critical of during a game, which, again, I'm going to be critical of Jonas Valanciunas tonight, and not even critical of him because he didn't do anything wrong. It's just his physical limitations. But I'm going to talk about it later. And it is a red flag, but it's not something where you say that it changes the ceiling of the team. It's just things that you can critique. It's not being a cheerleader all the time. It's just saying sometimes, hey, this was bad tonight or this was good tonight. It doesn't change the way that you view the team. I'll say this much. I don't think anyone's sleeping on the Raptors. I think I'm feeling pretty confident that everyone south of the border knows that they've still got to prove it in the playoffs. Everyone up here, they can say as much as they want that they feel confident that this year is different, and I'm in that same boat. But ultimately, until the Raptors do it, it's really tough to justify anything or to really stand by anything much. Truly, you can see all of the Raptors' pace and space right now. You can see an improved bench. But until they beat Cleveland in a postseason or they take them to 7 games and they show that they're different, conversations are going to be the same. People can still have their doubts. I think that they are a better team, and I think that they are getting a lot of respect.
You know what I liked? And I'm going to give you a little lob, little backdoor feed like we saw from Kyle and DeMar today. You talked about the emotions of this team. Maybe emotionally a little bit immature, letting the emotions get the best of them. I don't think this was a very well officiated game. The Raptors shot 9 free throws today. Not 9 trips to the line, 9 free throws.
I thought it was pretty sloppy both ways, though. Like, I didn't think that the Nuggets were getting some great whistle. I just thought they were calling it pretty loose. Like, they weren't making a ton of foul calls.
Jakob Poeltl has issues fouling.
Yes, he
but
does.
He had 4 fouls in 7 minutes. The Raptors weren't fouled barely 4 times for the entire game. I personally don't think it was a great officiated game, but that's not my point. My point is, we didn't hear any moaning, complaining. There's no outburst. There's no unnecessary tease. In a time and a stretch where they haven't been playing bad, when the crowd, let's be honest, wasn't into it and really wasn't there. Sure Club, I hope, was busy because the stands weren't.
There were some empty seats tonight.
There were many empty seats.
You gonna be that guy?
Am I gonna be what guy?
The guy who calls out.
Who uses my eyes and sees things and says what I see? What do you want me to do?
Listen, you just criticized me for saying the exact same thing, seeing things with my eyes and saying what I see.
I was happy with the mature approach with the Toronto Raptors. It has nothing to do with the box score, but I thought it was a nice progression considering the meltdown we saw against Oklahoma City not too long ago.
Let's get a couple of tweets. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Brennan Delaney, who just said, at J.D. Bunkis, at Donnovan Bennett, I can see why a stat nerd may not enjoy games. Raptors are 31-9 when JV attempts a 3 and 17-5 when he makes one. Did all by hand, and it took me from the start of the halftime to the middle of the fourth quarter. Hashtag SN Raps. Hashtag We the North. There's no picture attached on the web stream, but Brennan showed his work, and he did show his work. It's a great tweet, and thank you, Brennan, for.
I hated those exams. If I got the right answer, I got the right answer.
Yeah, but you could have cheated.
Don't ask me how I got there.
Yeah, you could have cheated.
No.
Yeah, you could have.
It's about results.
It is about results.
I hated showing my work.
You got to show your work. It's
which is why I work here.
So another tweet. Let's get to this one from AJ at Azon798. Says, do you think Norm Powell should get some more playing time? We're probably going to get this question a lot, and I say no. Not as of right now. You can see Norm Powell get some playing time when maybe the Raptors are desperate in the postseason. Maybe there's the odd time you get a matchup where teams go really small and really quick and you need to get some stops. Nice to see Norm knock down a 3 tonight. Missed his very next one. But at this point, the Raptors just have too many options. He just doesn't fit in. There's nobody out there that you're hoping that he replaces minutes of. And I've said this before, even with OG Anunoby hitting the rookie wall, Norm hasn't done enough to validate taking any minutes from him. He still gives up too much size at the position, especially considering who you are likely to face in the first round of the playoffs and later when you face the Cavaliers. He hasn't been a good enough shooter to take those minutes. And I think, again, even when Norm Powell got his minutes tonight, I was kind of hoping that would be a DeLon Wright set, that they would look at the starters plus DeLon Wright at that 3 spot instead of Norm. So, yeah, as of right now, no, Norm doesn't have a spot for me. He's a break in case of emergency player.
Well, you know who doesn't want to see Norm Powell play more minutes, and that's Jamal Murray. Because when Norm checked him, he had him in a straitjacket. Mm-hmm. Jamal ended up with 15, but it took him 40 minutes to get there, and it was on 6 of 18 shooting. I think it'll be very matchup specific, and Norman Powell is a Doberman. Mm-hmm. You set him out there against an elite scorer, tire him out, run him around screens.
This season he's been that?
You've done your job. No, I think that's his value moving forward.
Moving forward, but I'm saying this year.
Well, this year he hasn't done, unfortunately, much of anything all that well. But in spots, like you're going to play Miami round one. I don't really see Norm being a part of that series. You don't need Norman Powell to check Dwayne Wade at this point.
Nope.
Dwayne Wade is pump faking 8 times before he takes a shot. Even if Goran Dragic got hot, I don't think that's necessarily a great matchup for Norm. But as you move, hopefully further and further into the playoffs, maybe there's a situation where we talked about it on the weekend. A guy like Lou Will, you might want to put him on just to give him a different look. I think that's where you may see some minutes for Norm.
But the question is, do you want to see more minutes for Norm right now? And I don't want to see more minutes. I could see a scenario like you just outlined where you give him some minutes, but I don't want to see it.
Well, I don't
need to see it.
It's matchup driven.
Yeah, I wanted to see it for a while, but as of right now, it's not something to monitor. I don't think so anymore.
But that's because you want to see somebody else.
Yeah, I do. I want to see more DeLon Wright. And I don't think that that's a crazy option. I think he's long enough. I think he's giving you some good spacing. Again, he's 2 for 2 tonight. And on the season, he's shooting a little over 35%. He's been a solid knockdown three-point shooter. And this is the point. And I was making this today on Good Show. What do you want from what's a good wing player now? Generally, they say the specialists are 3 and D, right? 3 and D, 3 and D, 3 and D. DeLon Wright gives you those two things. And there's going to be some matchups where he isn't able to defend some bigger players, but then you adjust accordingly. That's what this team's all about. I think that most nights, DeLon Wright can give you some really productive minutes at the 3. And if OG Anunoby's not doing it for you, I don't see a problem with taking a look at him there over Pascal Siakam, just because I think Pascal still struggles enough and you don't have enough shooters out there.
Every 3-point shooter is not created equal, right? Like, let's not pretend, and I'm not saying you're doing this, so don't get defensive, but let's not pretend that DeLon Wright is Tim Legler. He's someone who is now comfortable taking threes, but I wouldn't yet say he's a 3 and D person, because when you look at his scouting report, 3 is not high on the list.
Yeah, I guess, except for now you're at a season where he's taking over 2 a game. He's taking 2.5 a game for the entire season, and he's knocking down 36% of them. That's a pretty good 3-point shooter. Like I think most people will take that guy.
But he's not Shane Battier. He's not Bruce Bowen. He's not Nicholas Batum. He's not someone who is just going to sit in the corner and crush you offensively by hitting corner threes and then defend.
No, of course not. But I don't think I don't think a lot of guys are going to crush you a night in, night out. There's only so many elite 3-point shooters. There's only so many CJ Miles out there. My point is that I think DeLon gives you enough of that. But the other part of it is he's the best Raptors perimeter. He's the best perimeter defender on the Raptors right now, today, as of this very moment. He is your number 1 go-to guy. And if you want to take away some shooting from somebody, throw DeLon Wright on him. If they want to bang you down in the post, that's okay. You got bigs that can come help you. You can swap him out. You can try to go to somebody else. You can go to OG Anunoby. Again, I'm for multiple looks, multiple different players. I just don't know why in a year where there's experimentation and research and development, as you say, late in the season, that you wouldn't want to take at least a look at DeLon Wright at that spot, considering what the Raptors have had there.
Oh, I want to take a look. I'm just not willing to give him the title of 3 and D. I don't think he profiles as that type of player at this point.
So let's talk a little bit about Serge Ibaka's game, because again, I thought that he played really well tonight. He's been a guy that we've been criticizing a lot lately, and rightfully so, because his March has been dreadful. Again, dude has been, now I think he's definitely under 30% from 3 now. So he's probably around 29% from 3 on the season. And from the floor even, he's been, for a 6'10" guy in March, shooting 38% from the field, which is just completely unacceptable. And the defense has slowed down too. He's not looked like even close to the same defensive player. But tonight, I thought that he gave them some really good minutes against Paul Millsap, the what could have been Raptor, the wormhole Raptor, the other potential forward that the team or the fan base was hoping that they would trade for last year. No Paul Millsap, but yes, Serge Ibaka, who again, maligned by the fan base lately, put together some really good defensive possessions, challenged Nikola Jokic at the rim at one spot, made some really good passes in this game, again, found OG Anunoby open for a look, missed his threes, but I talked to Alvin Williams about this today on Good Show. The one thing you just don't want to see from Serge is him forcing it, is him taking those bad shots, those shots where you're just like, please, Serge, no, Serge, why are you stopping the ball there? Didn't stop the ball tonight, took the wide open threes when he had it. The 3-point shot that he did knock down was beautiful, the pump fake in the corner, and then just drilled it. Just thought, very nice game from Serge Ibaka. Didn't get a chance to close it out, but he didn't do anything that didn't earn him that spot tonight. You didn't feel like he should have been put on the bench.
Yeah, I think he had a great look to OG cutting, which, as you mentioned, the big thing for me, we talked about the fact that they were engaged defensively, and that was a plus. Offensively, they were engaged as far as moving the ball. They were in rhythm, they were in sync. 30-plus assists, once again, 33 assists on 47 buckets, which is Warriors-like. This is the 15th time this year they've got 30-plus assists, which is crazy considering where this team came from. They had 30-plus assists. Guess how many times they've had 33-plus assists in the last couple of years?
What do you mean, last 2 years?
Last three. Let's go last three.
15?
1.
Okay. That's a lot.
So considering they've done it 15 times this year and the year's not over, I think that shows you how far a change they've made as far as moving the ball.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to Tom in Brampton. Hey, Tom. You're on Raptors postgame with J.D. Bunkis and Donnovan Bennett.
Hey, good night.
Hey, Tom. What's up?
Yeah, it was great. Hi, good night. It was great to see. I think Dwayne Casey's the best coach in Raptors history, but I think he made a mistake against Oklahoma, not keeping on the bench when they were building a lead. Took them off and the lead evaporated. I think that was a key part of us losing the game. But I think tonight he made up for it, showing faith in the bench when they were doing well. I also think that we should give Ibaka some breathing room. I mean, he's working hard. He's not as young as he used to be.
That's for sure.
Still a good player. We should give him some space. Don't. If you're all in his back, I mean, they're human. I'm not crying for him. They get paid enough, but they're still human, and we can't, run the guy out of town.
Yeah.
He's not doing well.
I mean, you can't run him out of town because he's making $20 million over the next 2 seasons, and nobody wants that. So Serge Ibaka's not going anywhere. Don't worry about it, Tom. Thanks for the call tonight.
No.
So, yeah, Serge Ibaka. Again, people, they've been rightfully critical of him. Again, the numbers have been horrible. He's not looked very good on back-to-backs. He's supposed to be a defensive stopper, and he's just been okay defensively. Tonight was a really nice sign. Again, he defended Millsap better than anyone else on the floor tonight. He did a good job staying out of foul trouble. He did a good job on Nikolai Jokic in some spots, even though Jokic did get the better of him closer to the basket because he's just giving up too much size. The problem with Serge has been that if he's slowing down defensively and he's missing his three-point shot, there's a lot of his games that frustrate you. He doesn't have a great dribble drive game. He's not a great passer. And he's lost a bit of the ability to cover out to the perimeter on smaller, quicker players. He's not the Oklahoma City Serge. But tonight you saw how important he can be to this Raptors team because, again, they're not going to have a 5 like him. And I still think that the Raptors against the Cleveland Cavaliers, their optimal lineup is probably going to include a front court of Pascal Siakam and Serge Ibaka.
Yeah. There are few 7-foot people on the face of this planet that have a good dribble drive game and can get out on shooters. He isn't doing it as well as when he was a defensive player of the year candidate every year, but he's still doing it well enough for him to earn his normal run of minutes. But I love the fact that they closed with the 2 young bigs, and I love the fact that even though their first team, maybe all-NBA player in DeMar DeRozan, who wasn't killing it, 15 points, 8 assists, though, facilitating for others, he's not helping you get stops. Hey, DeMar, you're going to have to sit beside me.
I want to go back to the tweets. Again, at J.D. Bunkis, at Donnovan Bennett, at Sportsnet. Use the hashtag SNRaps. You'll jump the queue. This one's from Ethan Pawn at Pawn Nation. At J.D. Bunkis, at Donnovan Bennett. Do you think that Pascal Siakam is starting to pass the eye test as a possible star of the future? Stats aside, he's been consistently visually impressive as the season has progressed. Thanks for the tweet, Ethan.
Is that your burner account?
Yeah. That's just me. That's my Kevin Durant burner account. Ethan Pawn is what I go by. Yeah, he's surely passing the eye test. There was a couple of moments in this game where Serge Ibaka put the ball on the deck and threw it down at the rim so impressively. Even I started to say, who the hell is this guy? Dude is getting better game by game by game. He's getting more confident with his handle. His touch is getting better around the rim. His confidence is continuing as a three-point shooter. He's still a really good passer. I don't know if he's ever going to be an all-star. That's just really tough in this league. It's so hard to project a guy being an all-star. But I've said for a while now, he's the member of Bench Mob that if I had to choose one guy to build a team around, one guy to continue forward with, I got to get rid of Fred. I got to get rid of DeLon. I got to even get rid of OG as my younger players. I think Pascal Siakam is the most valuable Raptors young player. And he's been proving me correct as of late because now he's hitting that three-point shot when his feet are set. He can defend multiple positions. He is that big that I was talking about Serge Ibaka used to be, where he can switch out onto a guard and give you some passable defense. He's got some things to work on. Again, he still gets muscled around a little bit. He could be a bit of a better defensive rebounder. But name me a better forward in the NBA that gets out in transition, someone that gets out in transition better than Pascal Siakam. I'll wait forever because you won't be able to name one.
LeBron James, Giannis. They're not forwards, or they don't get.
You think that LeBron James faster than Pascal Siakam?
Yeah.
Nah.
Can I introduce you to my favorite website? It's called NBA.com.
Yeah.
Look at his highlights.
His highlights, sure, but I'm saying I think Pascal Siakam is faster than LeBron James at 33 years old. No doubt about it in my mind. Giannis is freaky because he takes like 2 steps and he's there. So it's deceiving how you're like, oh, he does it in fewer steps. But I don't think that anybody breaks out faster than Pascal Siakam.
If LeBron James wanted to play wide receiver tomorrow,
he could
do it.
So could Pascal Siakam if he's got any hands.
I don't know about that. And what I love about Pascal, and this is talking to the fact that maybe he could turn into that future star. Although the one guy I would take on that list of benchmark players to become a future star would be DeLon Wright, no question. Pascal Siakam, let's remember, he could be playing this weekend in the NCAA tournament, not for the Raptors. I say that again. He could still be in college. He's that young. So when you look at his growth from a guy who was a late round pick, was forced to start because early in the year, last year, they had injuries at the 4, played well, above his head, hit a rookie wall, was basically not used in the playoffs, came back, again, wasn't in the starting rotation or the bench rotation to start the year.
Which is wild in hindsight.
Crazy. Earns his minutes, and again, is improving. Forget about month to month or week to week, game to game. This is a guy who averaged 1.5 assists in college. He again tonight had 6 assists in the NBA, and he still could play in college. That's what intrigues me about Pascal, because you get the sense that he's just scratching the surface. Forget about his physical abilities, with his skill, with his ball handling, with his passing, with his feel for the game. His upside is great. I still think DeLon has the highest upside out of all of them.
This is how much better he's gotten since the All-Star break for Pascal Siakam. And again, this is 56-game sample size versus this 18-game sample size. But his minutes are up by 2. He went from pre-All-Star shooting 48% from the field to now shooting just an eye-popping 59% from the field. He was shooting 19% from 3 in the first half of the season. And again, these are on very limited attempts, 1 a game. Pascal was shooting 19% in the first half, 37% from 3 in the second half of the season. He's collecting more rebounds. He's getting more assists. He's got the same amount of blocks. He's turning the ball over the same, and he's averaging 3 more points a game. He's getting better. He's getting much better. Pascal Siakam, to me, yes, highest ceiling guy, but again, looking like he's going to be the starter of the future, no question. The only question that I have is how long is it going to take? Like, if you get an aging Serge Ibaka, if he continues to slow down, if he continues to look a little bit more like March Serge Ibaka earlier and earlier next season, how does that affect your rotations? What does that happen to you? Do you have to find more time for Serge? For Pascal.
The comparison with Pascal by many, and I think it's still a bit early, but the comparison based on what they do on the floor is Draymond Green. I could see a year from now a situation where all of the numbers are saying, man, we have to start Pascal.
Yeah.
The exact same thing happened with Draymond Green and David Lee, who was a good player, who was a team guy, who was well-liked. But at some point, Steve Kerr had to say, man, we have to start Draymond. I could see that happening, whether it's next year or the year after, with Pascal. The best Pascal Siakam fun fact, you know what high school he went to? God's Academy. You know you're in
God's
tough
plan
when you're playing God's Academy. Their layup line is just God's plan on a loop.
I like that's cool. We got to take a break. There's more Raptors postgame coming up with J.D. Bunkis and Donnovan Bennett. We're going to be joined by Eric Smith. I'm going to take more of your tweets at J.D. Bunkis, at Donnovan Bennett. Use the hashtag SNRaps. We'll get to those on the other side. This is Raptors postgame on Sportsnet.ca and Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Did you get a little teary-eyed the first time you saw the God's Plan music video? Be honest with me.
No, I did not get.
You didn't feel any good feelings in your heart that made the throat swell up a little bit?
I mean, I kind of wish he did that in Toronto, but there are logistical reasons why he couldn't. But He
Never
actually
thought about that.
He actually gave that money away for real, though.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, I should hope so. He's Drake.
Have you heard of this thing called Twitter, where everyone thought those were actors?
No.
Big tune.
I don't pay attention
Big
too much
video.
to the haters on Twitter. I try to tune them out. Again, Raptors win. Beat the Nuggets. Things are good back in Toronto again. 114 to 110. Shockingly, again, I didn't even really notice this or didn't really register with me. I wasn't looking at the box score too much, but right as the guys were wrapping up and they mentioned that no one on the Raps had scored more than 15 points tonight, I had to do the double take. Like, what? How's that? How's that possible?
I would love, like, just for every post game in the playoffs, Drake just comes out with a record that's summing up the game. Siakam with 5 assists. Whoa.
Maybe once a
16 blocks
series.
by
You're
the
asking
team.
a lot. You're asking
Yeah.
a lot for Drake or from Drake.
Casey's
Eric Smith joins
plan.
us now.
Casey's
Radio voice
plan.
of the Toronto Raptors. Hey, Eric, what's up, man?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Getting by. I mean, it feels like already the sins of the past have washed away and things are good in Toronto Raptors land and no one can panic anymore. They won. They won a ball game against a team coming off of a back-to-back, but they look great doing it, especially in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they kind of, it was a little lackadaisical again in the first half, especially I would say on the defensive end more than anything else. But locking it down in that fourth quarter, it was kind of weird too. I noted it. It was an 11-2 run by the Raptors to take a 3-point lead late third.
Mm-hmm.
They then give up an 11-0 run to Denver to give it all right back again late third, early fourth, only to then use a 13-2 run to rip the lead right back and to kind of never look back. And closest Denver would be was 4, thanks to them dropping like 3 triples in the last 45 seconds. So it was certainly a very solid final 10 minutes. And the Raptors definitely looked like that team, J.D. and Donnovan, that we saw, certainly during the 11-game winning streak, but arguably over most of the season, the way they were moving on the defensive end, how active they were, and just the defense feeding the offense, feeding the transition and up and down the floor and using their speed and athleticism and everybody touching the ball. That was kind of what we've been kind of accustomed to as opposed to what we saw all too often in the previous 5 games when they had lost 3 out of 5.
The player that really signifies all the things you just mentioned, the defense, moving your feet on defense, getting out in transition, finishing, is Pascal. Another nice game from him. 5+ assists again, 5th time this year. For me, he might be arguably the 3rd best playmaker at this point, considering he's a guy who 2 years ago was averaging 1 assist in the NCAA. How impressed are you with the way he's been able to facilitate offense for others?
Yeah, very, Donnovan, and I believe his 6th assist tonight tied the career high, the season high for him. The fact that he's becoming such a versatile player on both ends and proving that he can beat in so many different ways, it makes me think that I think we might have touched on this last time we spoke a couple of games ago, in that I still think there's a decision that needs to be made with OG Anunoby come playoff time, and not that I think he'll be ripped from the starting lineup, but I think it's going to be one of those things where he starts, but the hook might be quicker, and I'm not trying to single him out, but the hook might be quicker just given a rookie in the playoffs for the first time, and if you're not getting bang for your buck, then boom, you're going to the bench, the second unit that much quicker, and you would think it's probably C.J. Miles, but maybe, just maybe, there's a time to then get a Norm Powell in the lineup, and the reason I bring up Norm is because he's been sort of that break glass in case of emergency the last 2 postseasons for the Raptors. Norm Powell has been kind of the difference maker. Well, this year I think it could be Pascal Siakam. And whether it's for longer stretches in the second quarter, longer stretches in the third, perhaps finishing games, whether it be in place of Ibaka or alongside Ibaka, I think we could be seeing a whole lot more of Pascal Siakam because of the athleticism, the energy, the speed. You talk about the passing, his ability around the rim. To me, it's akin to what we saw for years with Amir Johnson with that quick flick of the wrist, with that short baby hook in the lane. There's so many different things that he can do. And then, oh, by the way, the last few games, suddenly the guy that was maybe the worst on the team was horrendous for months from the perimeter, now seems to be taking and making a few more. And I think that's getting in the heads of some defenses, too, that maybe we got to start respecting the three-point game a little bit, too. So there's so much to like about what Pascal does and how well he plays, especially alongside those fellow guys in the second unit.
Yeah, I want to see more of Pascal, too. I think it's going to happen in the postseason. If you ask me, it seems almost like he's maybe even not jumped, but leveled himself with Fred VanVleet in terms of what you would consider the Raptors' sixth man to be. My only concern with him with his wing minutes is if you're playing him with Jonas Valanciunas and Serge Ibaka and DeMar DeRozan is on the floor, considering that DeMar has taken a little bit of a step back from behind the arc lately, I just worry a little bit about the spacing and how that changes things for the rest of the Raptors. I mentioned today on Good Show and as well on Free Association, kicking around the idea about what DeLon Wright might look at on the wing, considering, positions are more fluid than they've ever been. You still get his ball handling. And his defense, if you're looking for someone to lock down on the perimeter, I can't think of a better Raptor to do it than him.
Two things just quickly I want to mention. I wasn't necessarily talking about Pascal playing the wing. I'm talking about playing at the 4 in place of Ibaka,
okay,
or even shifting Serge over to the 5 and having Pascal playing the 4. I don't think you could roll Pascal out there playing the 3 very often, and certainly not with Serge and JB. Even against bigger lineups, I don't know that I would want that. I think that would be too much, and I would want to have somebody else on the floor, whether it's a VanVleet or, to your point, JD, a guy like a DeLon Wright, if it's not going to be a Norm Powell. But to go to your point about DeLon, I kind of hear where you're coming from a little bit. I think it's going to be clearly matchup driven because depending on who you're playing, I like when the Raptors, and we saw it even for stretches tonight, not for long stretches, but we saw Casey going with the 3 guards and having VanVleet essentially running the show with Kyle playing off the ball and then Wright at the 3 for argument's sake. And I like having all those ball handlers and, to your point as well, defenders out there, but depending on who you're playing, because I'm not going to roll out, and not to imply that you're saying this either, but I'm not going to roll out DeLon Wright at the 3 to try and slow down LeBron James, let alone even Chris Middleton or Jabari Parker or Giannis Antetokounmpo or whomever it might be that OG Anunoby's been tasked with, or even in previous years that Norm Powell has been tasked with. I like DeLon a lot. I think his defense is great, but I think he's better against 1s and 2s, and I'm not sure if he'd be as good just because of the strength. He's got the length, he's got the smarts, he's got the hands, but I don't know if he's got the strength necessarily to stop some of those opposing 3s. That would be my only concern, but I don't necessarily hate the idea, again, depending on the matchup.
It kind of killed me to learn, or to read anyways, I hope it's a lie, that DeLon Wright weighs 190 pounds. Because, first of all, it takes away from the idea that he could ever defend out on the 3 if he could just get muscled like that. But 2 is I'm 5'10", and I weigh 180 pounds, and I don't know what that says about me. And I don't feel good about it. That's all I know. I don't feel good.
Well, I'll tell you, hey, man, you've got 1 inch on me, but you got 35 pounds, bro, so you got to hit the gym because I'm 155 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal, JD.
Yeah.
So
I gotta hit I gotta start eating more greens. I'm already on the salads, but it's just like no more.
You've been hanging around Ennis too long. You got to get off that Ennis diet.
Yeah, I do. I just cut the beers out and everything. Hey, Eric, thanks for joining us tonight, man. Always fun.
All right, guys.
Cheers.
Twisted steel and sex appeal is what he just dropped on you.
Yeah, he's a wrestling fan. He can drop the promo. Listen, that's a man who's got a lot of years in the broadcast biz. I was not surprised that he was able to drop such a good and quick promo. But yes, he's correct.
So what would your promo be at this point?
Eating too much food, not exercising. The blob. He is blobbing all over you.
That doesn't even rhyme.
Whatever. Exactly. I'm not a pro. Don't watch wrestling. I never have. But I could be convinced if I learn how to cut a promo like that. So yeah, again, it kind of following up on what Eric just said, to me, it still is matchup driven as well. I just think if you look at what OG's been giving you on defense, it's hard to imagine DeLon Wright is going to be any worse than that. And yes, he's had some flashes. I would never want DeLon Wright to defend LeBron James. I think that if you get him at the 3 and it's a matchup versus Cleveland, I hope anyways that you're actually seeing a lineup potentially when we're talking about fluid and matchup based, where Serge starts at the 5, Pascal starts at the 4, and maybe DeLon is at the 3. Why? Because I don't think that Jonas Valanciunas can hang against some of these small ball lineups. And the idea is that he can dominate. And I'm not saying that he won't have his nights where Jonas Valanciunas can take over a ball game offensively. He's still the Raptors' best rebounder. He still has a lot of utility scoring the ball. But you saw again tonight in matchups, and this is a similar link or a similar team in terms of front court as Cleveland, where both their front court players can score on you and they can rely on those 2 front court players. Jonas Valanciunas couldn't hang. And I was dreading that Dwayne Casey was going to put him back in that ball game, like he did against the Cleveland Cavaliers late. I think there's going to be some spots where Jonas Valanciunas is just not going to be able to give you so much offense that the defense is going to make up for it. And again, the defense has gotten better. He's taken strides in his game. Tonight wasn't about what Jonas Valanciunas didn't do or what he screwed up. It was a matter of what he couldn't do. And so I think that you're going to have to start to see a little bit more fluidity in the lineups, again, depending on matchups.
The thing I like about this team and the options that Casey has is I think come playoff time, he's going to say to his team, listen, you guys have 40 minutes to earn 8. You know where you're going to play. You know, that bench mob, you're going to come in end of first, some of you early second. You're going to get your minutes. You're going to get your late third quarter minutes. You guys all 10 of you, and maybe Norm Powell, depending on matchups, have 40 minutes to prove to me why you deserve to close the last 8. And then, aside from Kyle, who I think is always going to be closing, you pick and choose. Is it going to be Pascal? Is it going to be Fred? Is it going to be DeLon? Is it going to be Serge or JV? And JV played relatively well. I mean, 15 and 7 in 22 minutes is against a good front court.
You're never going to be able to look at his offensive numbers and his rebounding, and it will never tell the full story.
Right. But if you let me finish, what I was going to say is this is a matchup where, as good as that is, Jokic was coming in scoring an average of 22 in the last 10, and he went off for 29, 8, and 16 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
So as good as you are playing, JV, this is not your night, my dude. You have to sit beside me. And this is what I like about this team is they're going to go into playoff games saying, first 40 minutes, prove to me why you should stay on the floor. Mm-hmm. And some of it will be matchup driven, and others will be who has the hot hand. We saw a little bit of both today.
Yeah, I think that's the key. And again, Eric hit it right on the head where he said it's going to be quick hooks. And because you have that flexibility, you can go to the bench quicker, but you can also make changes to the starting lineup or to your closing lineup. Quick love and hate. We got 2 minutes left. You want me to start or you want to start?
You can start.
So my love from tonight's game, 2-man game between Fred VanVleet and Siakam in the second quarter. I love the idea that those two play together. They're both great passers. Fred is proving to become a better and better shooter. Again, this is the month where he's taken his most threes. He's getting more confident from behind the three-point line. And he and Pascal were looking for each other, and they gave each other a couple of open looks, and it transitioned into a couple of buckets. And I loved watching that, and I'm here for more Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam playing 2-man game.
I love the fact that the Raptors had 7 guys in double figures.
How can you not?
One starter wasn't. One bench guy wasn't. Those will be my hates. Go ahead. What's your hate?
My hate is just the adventures that C.J. Miles takes sometimes when he tries to dribble into the paint. And teams like to run him off the line, and he gets into that middle of the paint where he doesn't really know what he's going to do with it. And he had the nice cram tonight. I think that's C.J.'s second or third dunk of the year. It was a nice one. But you get too many times where the follow-up, which was him getting blocked, or him just in the first quarter at the very end of the half holding on to the ball too long, dribbling into traffic, turning it over, and then it resulting in a Devin Harris free throw. So I don't know what it is, if he needs to work on a little bit more of a pull-up game or be more prone to pass the basketball. But I'd like to see a couple fewer C.J. Miles adventures into the paint where, yeah, he's taking bad shots or turning the ball over. It was fun tonight. We enjoyed it. We're back Saturday against the Celtics. It's Raptors postgame with J.D. Bunkis and Donnovan Bennett. Sportsnet.ca and Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Thanks for tuning in.